So adding and subtracting fractions. Let's take some examples. So if we got something like 2/7 plus 3/7, then this is fairly straightforward because we already have a common denominator of sevenths. So we end up with 2 plus 3 over 7, so 5/7. The key to adding and subtracting fractions is that we always need a common denominator to put things together. If I've got a half plus 2/3, the answer is not 3/5. If you think about it, a half looks like that. 2/3 is roughly that. If I put these two together, then I definitely get more than a whole one coloured in. I've got a half there. I've got 2/3. Well, that's bigger than the half that I had left, so I must get a little bit extra. So adding needs a common denominator on the bottom, otherwise it will not work. So let's have a look at this example done properly. So if we've got a half plus 2/3, then we look for the lowest common multiple of the denominator. So we go through our 2 and 3 times table until we find the smallest number that's in both. We can see that if we do the 2 times table and the 3 times table, the answer will be 6. So we end up with having to work with sixths. Now, what we're saying really is that we want a half to become so many sixths. So remember what happens here, we times the denominator to get 6. 2 times 3 gives me 6, so I must do the same to the numerators to make them equivalent fractions. So 1 times 2 is 2. So a half, 1 times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, so a half is 3/6. 2/3, well, same idea, we want 6 to be the denominator. This time I doubled up, so I must double the top. 2 times 2 is 4, so 4/6. Now we've got a common denominator, I'm adding 6, so my answer will be 6, and 3 plus 4, so we end up with 7/6. And again, this is top heavy, it's improper fraction, so how many 6's go into 7? 1, remainder 1, 7 take away 6 is 1, so we're left with 1/6, because we're dealing with sixths. Another example, I might want to do 4/7 take away 1/3. Well, again, I need a common denominator, so I'm going to turn them into 7 3s are 21. I'll go through my 7 times table and my 3 times table. The smallest number that's in both is 21. So I'm going to turn them into 21s on the bottom, doing a takeaway. To turn the 7 into 21, I times by 3, so I have to times the numerator by 3 as well, so 12. So we've got to remember all the time, whatever we do to the bottom number, the denominator, then we must do that to the numerator to make an equivalent fraction. And to turn 3 into 21, I times by 7, and 1 times 7 is 7. So 12 over 21 take away 7 over 21. Then my answer is going to be 21st, and 12 take away 7 is the sum of doing with the numerators, so 5 over 21. So adding and subtracting fractions, you have to work with a common denominator, and you turn these into the lowest common multiple is usually the best way. If I'm dealing with mixed numbers, so say I had 2.5 take away 3/4, then I've got to think of this as 2 take away, there's no whole bit there, so I've got a half take away 3/4, and common denominator here will be quarters. That goes into 4, that goes into 4, so a half is the same as 2/4. I'm taking away 3/4, so that's going to be 2 take away 3, so negative a quarter. So that means I'm going to have to finish off by doing the 2 whole ones, take away a quarter, which will give me 1 and 3/4. If you don't like the idea of dealing with negative fractions, then you can do this as 2.5 take away 3/4. You can turn the 2.5 into a improper fraction. So how many halves are there in 2 whole ones? Well, 4 plus the extra half is 5 halves. So I can do it like this, and again I could turn these into quarters, so that's going to be 10/4, double up to take the 2 to 4, so double the 5, and that will equal 7/4. And then if I turn this into a mixed number, how many 4s in 7? 1, remainder 3, 7 take away 4 is 3, so we end up with 1 3/4 again. So a quick example of how to add fractions and subtract fractions properly, making sure that you always have a common denominator when you're wanting to add and take away. Now, if you're dealing with mixed numbers, then you've got a couple of approaches. You could just deal with the fraction part and then take that away from the whole number part, or you could turn the mixed number into an improper fraction and then deal with it like that. That's several ways.